Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather to celebrate not just progress, but possibility. We are living in a time when the phrase "the future is female" is not just a slogan, it is a statement of truth, a wave of change, and a call to action. Across continents and cultures, women are breaking boundaries once thought unshakable. They are rising, not quietly, but boldly, rewriting the rules and building a future that belongs to everyone. Let me take you on a journey through 5 powerful truths that show how women are not waiting for permission. They're leading with purpose. Number 1. Breaking glass ceilings in leadership. For decades, leadership has often worn a single face, predominantly male, shaped by tradition and driven by systems that excluded half the world's population. But today, we are witnessing a shift so profound that it is reshaping the very meaning of leadership itself. Women around the world are no longer waiting for an invitation to lead. They are stepping into power, breaking through the glass ceilings that once confined them, and proving that leadership knows no gender. To break a glass ceiling is to challenge a deeply rooted system of limitations. It's not just about being the first woman in a role, it's about shattering the invisible barriers that have for so long kept women in supporting positions rather than leading ones. These ceilings are not made of glass by accident. They are transparent, hard to see until you hit them, and once you do, the resistance can be subtle or overt, but it is always real. The courage required to press upward against a culture that questions your every move is immense. Yet countless women do it every single day, with resilience, integrity, and a vision for something better. Take Jacinda Ardern, for example. As the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she did not just lead, she redefined leadership. In moments of crisis, whether it was the tragic mosque shootings or the COVID-19 pandemic, she combined empathy with decisiveness. Her strength lay not in posturing or loud declarations, but in clear action, honest communication, and a deep sense of care for her people. Ardern's leadership sent a powerful message. You don't need to act like a man to lead like a boss. Compassion and strength are not opposites, they are partners. Across the globe, women like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who became the first woman and the first African to lead the World Trade Organization, are rewriting what global leadership looks like. Her decades of experience in economics and international development didn't just qualify her for the position. They made her uniquely suited to face the challenges of global trade with a perspective shaped by both intellect and lived experience. Women like her are not just filling seats. They are changing the conversations that take place in them. But the fight to break glass ceilings goes beyond high offices and international roles. It happens in local businesses, schools, hospitals, and homes. It happens when a young woman becomes the first in her family to start her own company. It happens when a mother re-enters the workforce and climbs into a leadership role despite being told she's behind. It happens when a woman in a male-dominated field speaks up in meetings where her voice is often interrupted or ignored, and keeps speaking anyway. Every act of courage to step forward, to keep going, and to claim space where none was offered, contributes to the cracking of that ceiling. It is important to recognize that breaking these barriers doesn't mean the fight is over. Women who lead often carry a double burden. They must constantly prove themselves in ways their male counterparts are not required to. They walk a tightrope between being perceived as too assertive or too passive. When they succeed, their achievements are often attributed to luck or timing rather than skill and dedication. The pressure to be perfect, to never stumble, is immense. But still they lead, still they rise. Support systems play a crucial role in this journey. Mentorship, allyship, and inclusive policies are not luxuries. They are necessities. When companies and institutions actively invest in developing female leadership, they not only empower individuals, they transform their entire culture. Leadership should never be about checking a diversity box. It should be about recognizing and unlocking potential in all its forms. Gender-balanced leadership brings different perspectives to the table, resulting in more comprehensive decision making greater innovation and deeper trust among teams and communities. What we must also remember is that every woman who breaks through does not just do it for herself. She does it for every girl who watches her, for every young woman wondering if she too could lead one day. Visibility matters, representation matters. When girls see women leading nations, corporations, movements, and families with vision and purpose, they begin to imagine themselves in those roles. They learn that leadership is not something to fear or doubt, but something to embrace and prepare for. In the end, breaking glass ceilings is not just about women. It is about humanity. When women rise, societies rise. When women lead, communities thrive. Empowering women in leadership roles isn't just a victory for gender equality. It's a step toward a more just, balanced, and compassionate world. We must keep supporting, elevating, and celebrating the women who are making history today and those who will continue to do so tomorrow. This journey is far from over, but the cracks are growing wider. The glass is weakening, and with each new story of a woman rising, leading, and transforming, we move one step closer to a world where ceilings no longer exist, only open skies. Number 2. Revolutionizing STEM and innovation. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, has long been seen as a male-dominated domain, but that narrative is changing. All across the globe, women are not only entering these fields, they are revolutionizing them. Their contributions are shaping the future, and their presence is expanding what innovation looks like. The barriers that once excluded women from laboratories, tech companies, and engineering firms are being dismantled by brilliance, determination, and a vision that refuses to conform to outdated expectations. Throughout history, the achievements of women in STEM were often overlooked or erased. Women like Ada Lovelace, the world's first computer programmer, and Rosalind Franklin, whose work was critical to understanding the structure of DNA, laid the foundation for entire fields of science, yet their names were hidden behind those of their male counterparts. But despite the lack of recognition, women continued to press forward. Today, their voices and ideas are impossible to ignore. Modern pioneers such as Dr. Katalin Kariko, whose research was fundamental to the development of mRNA vaccines, show how revolutionary contributions are not bound by gender. Her persistence, despite decades of rejection and lack of funding, ultimately led to one of the most important medical breakthroughs of our time. That kind of determination, working for years in the shadows without applause or guarantees, defines the spirit of countless women in STEM. They are driven not by attention, but by a genuine passion to discover, improve, and innovate. Another powerful example is Gitanjali Rao, a teenage scientist and inventor who is using her talents to solve global problems. She has created devices to detect lead in drinking water and developed tools to combat cyberbullying, proving that age and gender are no obstacles to innovation. Her work not only contributes to society, but also inspires young girls around the world to believe that their ideas matter and their inventions can change lives. In the world of technology, women are designing the algorithms that power artificial intelligence, building platforms that connect communities, and leading teams that create the future of digital interaction. They are using their unique perspectives to challenge bias in data, ensure inclusive design, and ask the questions that others might overlook. Diversity in innovation isn't just a nice idea, it's essential. When the people building the future reflect the diversity of the world, the solutions become more effective, ethical, and far-reaching. Engineering, too, is seeing a shift. Women are leading projects in renewable energy, sustainable infrastructure, and space exploration. Engineers like Gwynne Shotwell, the president of SpaceX, are demonstrating that the frontier of space is open to all, not just those who fit the traditional mold. Her leadership has been instrumental in developing technology that is changing how we think about space travel and interplanetary possibility. But the revolution isn't just happening at the top, it's happening in classrooms, workshops, and coding boot camps everywhere. Young girls who once believed science wasn't for them are now enrolling in STEM programs in greater numbers, driven by curiosity and encouraged by role models who look like them. Teachers, mentors, and outreach programs are opening doors that had long been closed, and each open door becomes a pathway to discovery and innovation. Yet challenges remain. Gender bias, unequal pay, lack of mentorship, and workplace discrimination still hinder progress. Women in STEM often face isolation, subtle doubts about their capabilities, and the pressure to prove themselves constantly. These issues can be discouraging, but they are not insurmountable. What's changing is the collective will to confront these problems openly and build better systems. Systems that support and celebrate women's contributions rather than suppress them. Revolutionizing STEM is not just about placing women into existing roles. It's about transforming the culture itself. It's about moving from competition to collaboration, from exclusion to inclusion, from rigidity to innovation. Women are not just adapting to the world of STEM, they are actively reshaping it. They are challenging the assumptions of the past and designing the solutions of tomorrow. The impact of this revolution reaches far beyond the labs and offices where these women work. It touches healthcare, education, transportation, the environment, and every part of our lives. It gives young girls the confidence to say, "I want to be a scientist," without hesitation or fear. It tells them that their questions are valuable, their ideas are powerful, and their dreams are achievable. Innovation thrives where curiosity is nurtured, and society thrives when every voice is heard. The more we support women in STEM, the more we strengthen our ability to solve complex problems and create a better world. The journey is not easy, but it is underway, and it is unstoppable. With every code written, every experiment conducted, and every discovery made, women are not just participating in STEM. They are leading a revolution. This revolution is not quiet. It is bold, brilliant, and deeply transformative. It is driven by minds that refuse to be underestimated and fueled by a collective desire to build a future that works for everyone. Women are no longer knocking on the door of innovation. They are building new ones and walking right through them. Number 3, shattering stereotypes in sports and media. For generations, sports and media have been powerful arenas where society's perceptions are shaped, challenged, and reinforced. These spaces have long been governed by rigid stereotypes, ideas about who should lead, who should perform, and who should be visible. Women, more often than not, have been placed on the margins, reduced to roles that prioritized appearance over ability, compliance over confidence, and silence over strength. But that story is being rewritten, and today, women are not just stepping into these arenas. They are shattering the old narratives, claiming space, and changing the face of what success, power, and excellence look like. In sports, female athletes are doing far more than winning medals and breaking records. They are breaking barriers. Serena Williams, for instance, has become a symbol of dominance, resilience, and authenticity. With over 2 decades of excellence on the tennis court, she has not only become one of the greatest athletes in history, but also a force who has confronted racism, sexism, and body shaming with unwavering confidence. Her journey reveals the double standards women often face in sports, judged not only by performance, but also by how they look, speak, or express emotion. Serena's legacy is more than her trophies. It's the way she has redefined strength, especially for Black women, and shown that excellence does not need to apologize for existing. The same can be said for athletes like Simone Biles, who chose mental health over medals at the peak of Olympic pressure. In a world that often demands women to be perfect and self-sacrificing, her decision to step back was revolutionary. It reminded the world that women are not machines. They are humans with limits, needs, and the right to care for themselves. That one decision sparked global conversations about athlete well-being and inspired countless individuals to prioritize mental health without shame. Women in sports are also challenging the idea that their achievements are somehow lesser than those of men. Time and again, they have had to fight for equal pay, media coverage, and respect. The U.S. Women's national soccer team has been a loud and consistent voice in this fight, demanding equal compensation and recognition for their success. Their achievements on the field have been undeniable, multiple World Cup titles and Olympic medals, yet they've still been paid less than their male counterparts. Their battle is not just about money, it's about value. It's about telling young girls that their efforts, skills, and victories matter just as much. Meanwhile, the media landscape has undergone its own transformation. For decades, the portrayal of women in film, television, and news was confined to stereotypes: the love interest, the sidekick, the damsel in distress. Powerful women were often framed as cold, emotional women as irrational, and ambitious women as unlikable. But that mold is cracking. Filmmakers like Ava DuVernay, Chloe Zhao, and Greta Gerwig are creating stories that center women as complex, dynamic, and deeply human. They're not only directing films, they're controlling narratives, building worlds, and shifting whose voices are heard. These creators have opened the door for more inclusive storytelling, where women of all backgrounds, regardless of race, age, or identity, can see themselves reflected on screen in roles that are rich, authentic, and empowering. Representation in front of the camera is equally important. Actresses like Viola Davis and Zendaya are challenging what leading roles look like, while journalists like Christiane Amanpour and Maria Ressa are proving that women in media are not just storytellers. They are truth tellers, warriors of fact, and defenders of freedom. Their presence in these roles speaks volumes. It tells the world that women are not just capable of holding the spotlight, they were born to shine in it. One of the most powerful impacts of women shattering stereotypes in sports and media is the cultural ripple effect it creates. Young girls grow up seeing role models who reflect courage, ambition, and authenticity. Boys grow up learning that leadership and strength are not tied to gender. Society begins to internalize the idea that equality is not just fair, it is normal. Every record broken, every stereotype challenged, and every glass ceiling shattered chips away at centuries of bias and paves the way for a more inclusive and empowered future. But the work is far from over. Misogyny, underrepresentation, and unequal treatment still exist in both sports and media. Female athletes are still sexualized in coverage. Women journalists still face threats and harassment. Powerful women are still scrutinized more for what they wear than what they say. These challenges are real and persistent, but so is the resistance. What's encouraging is the growing solidarity among women and their allies across these industries, athletes supporting each other, actors producing films for women by women, journalists standing together against silencing tactics. This collective force is stronger than any stereotype. In the end, the stories being written today are more than personal victories. They are collective triumphs. They are shaping a world where girls can grow up believing they are not limited by outdated ideas, where they don't have to choose between being strong and being soft, between being visible and being respected. They can be it all, and they are proving it every day. The old narratives are fading. In their place, a new story is being told, one of strength, vision, and limitless possibility. Women are no longer asking for space in sports and media. They are owning it, and in doing so, they are not just changing games or screens. They are changing the world. Number 4. Leading social change and activism. Throughout history, true transformation has always begun with voices that dared to challenge the status quo. Women have consistently been at the forefront of social change and activism, even when they were pushed to the margins. They have organized revolutions, marched for justice, fought for rights, and spoken truth to power, not for personal glory, but to create a better, more compassionate, and more just world. Today, their leadership in activism continues to grow stronger, inspiring movements that ripple across nations and generations. To lead social change is not simply to speak. It is to act with courage in the face of resistance. Women have done this for centuries, often without recognition or praise. From community organizing to international movements, they have challenged oppressive systems, stood against violence, fought for the voiceless, and demanded justice even when it came at great personal cost. Their leadership is not defined by titles or positions, but by impact, by the lives they uplift, the laws they change, and the hope they ignite in others. Consider the story of Malala Yousafzai, who stood up for girls' education in Pakistan. Her advocacy began with a simple desire to go to school, but when the Taliban tried to silence her, she didn't retreat. Even after surviving a gunshot wound to the head, she continued her fight with even more determination. Malala became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate and has since inspired millions to believe that education is not a privilege for the few, but a right for all. Her courage wasn't in grand speeches alone. It was in the daily decision to speak, to write, and to lead, even as threats surrounded her. Women like Tarana Burke, the founder of the #MeToo movement, have changed the conversation around sexual violence and accountability. Long before hashtags brought global attention, she was working on the ground, supporting survivors and advocating for healing. Her movement empowered women across the world to break the silence, revealing the deep-rooted injustices many had suffered quietly for years. By putting a spotlight on truth, she forced powerful institutions to confront their complicity and inspired others to demand safer, more respectful environments. These stories are not isolated. Around the world, countless women are leading grassroots movements and national campaigns alike. In India, women have led mass protests against gender-based violence. In Sudan, it was young women who were on the front lines of revolution, raising their voices for freedom and democracy. In the United States, Black women have been central to movements for civil rights, voting rights, and racial justice, from Rosa Parks to modern-day leaders like Patrisse Cullors and Tamika Mallory. Their leadership is intersectional, acknowledging that justice must address race, class, gender, and beyond. Social change does not happen overnight. It requires persistence, patience, and a vision for something greater than the present moment. Women leaders understand this deeply. They often serve as both the architects and the caretakers of change, organizing communities, educating others, offering support, and ensuring no one is left behind. Their activism is not always loud, but it is always steady. Whether it's a mother organizing neighborhood support groups, a young girl starting a petition at school, or a lawyer fighting for justice in the courts, every act of leadership matters. Women's leadership in activism also redefines what power looks like. It shifts the focus from domination to cooperation, from ego to empathy. Many women approach change with a community mindset, understanding that no progress is lasting if it leaves others behind. They ask different questions. Who is missing from this table? Who is affected by this policy? How do we ensure dignity for all? These are not just leadership strategies. They are moral imperatives. Another powerful element of women-led activism is storytelling. Women have mastered the art of using their personal experiences to fuel collective change. They speak not only of statistics, but of lived pain, lived resilience, and lived hope. These stories humanize struggles that often feel distant. They help others relate, understand, and act. By sharing their truths, women break through apathy and spark empathy, moving people from awareness to action. And yet, the road is not easy. Women activists often face disproportionate backlash. They are harassed, discredited, and threatened. They are told to stay quiet, to stay small, to stay safe. But still, they rise. Still, they organize, speak, march, and lead. They understand that silence serves the oppressor, and so they choose to make noise, not for fame, but for freedom. As more women step into the arena of social change, they are also creating space for others to join. They are mentoring the next generation of activists, teaching them not only how to fight, but how to endure. They are building movements that are sustainable, inclusive, and deeply rooted in community. The torch is not just being passed, it's being multiplied, creating light in every corner where injustice once lived. In today's world, where challenges seem endless, from climate change to inequality, from war to systemic injustice, women's leadership in activism is more crucial than ever. Their clarity, compassion, and conviction serve as a guiding force. They remind us that change is not only possible, it is inevitable when driven by love and courage. This is the era where women are not waiting for permission to lead. They are stepping forward, raising their voices, and shaking the foundations of systems that no longer serve humanity. They are proving that leadership is not about control. It is about compassion, vision, and the unshakable belief that a better world is worth fighting for. Number 5. Creating space for the next generation. True leadership is not measured only by personal achievement, but by how one uses their success to uplift others. Creating space for the next generation is one of the most powerful and selfless acts of leadership, and it is something that many women are doing intentionally and consistently. It is not about holding the spotlight, but about shifting it. It is not about climbing the ladder alone, but about building new ladders, bridges, and entire platforms for those who come after. In every corner of the world, women are showing that progress should never be a solitary journey. It should be a shared mission. The act of creating space means acknowledging that talent and potential are not confined to any one group, generation, or background. It means recognizing that the success of the few is not enough if the many remain stuck behind invisible barriers. Women who have broken boundaries understand this deeply. They remember what it felt like to be overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed. They know the sting of being the only woman in the room, the only voice speaking up, the only one daring to dream in a place that wasn't built for them. That memory becomes fuel for something greater, a desire to make sure the next person doesn't have to fight the same battles alone. Mentorship is one of the clearest expressions of this mindset. So many women who have carved a path in politics, business, science, sports, education, or the arts are reaching back to mentor young girls and aspiring professionals. They offer guidance, encouragement, and honest insight into what it truly takes to grow and thrive. They give their time not because it benefits them, but because they understand the power of a kind word at the right moment. A mentor's belief can change the trajectory of a young life. It can replace doubt with confidence, fear with direction, and isolation with connection. Beyond mentorship, women are investing in young voices by creating organizations, scholarships, networks, and platforms that offer real access to opportunity. Whether it's a tech entrepreneur funding coding camps for girls, an artist creating workshops for underrepresented youth, or a CEO sponsoring leadership training for young women, these actions send a clear message: we rise by lifting others. By creating these spaces, women are helping the next generation skip some of the obstacles they themselves had to overcome. Representation also plays a powerful role. When young people see women in roles of influence, leading companies, winning championships, directing films, making discoveries, and creating policy, they are able to envision those possibilities for themselves. Representation plants seeds. It tells a girl in a small town that she, too, can be an engineer, a judge, a pilot, or a change maker. It tells a young woman of color that her voice is not just valid, it is vital. Creating space also means being visible, being real, and letting others know that success did not come without struggle. Another key aspect of this leadership is the willingness to listen. Creating space is not just about speaking to the next generation, but listening to them, hearing their dreams, fears, ideas, and questions. It means respecting their unique perspectives and understanding that they bring something fresh and necessary to the table. Women leaders who create space are not trying to mold young people into replicas of themselves. Instead, they are helping them become the fullest, freest version of who they are meant to be. Sometimes, creating space also requires stepping aside. It takes great humility and strength to know when it's time to pass the baton, to let others take the lead, and to cheer from the sidelines. It means understanding that legacy is not built through control, but through trust. Many women in leadership are choosing to retire with grace, to support younger colleagues, and to encourage new voices in their fields. They are not clinging to power, they are passing it on with purpose. Creating space for the next generation is also about changing systems. It is about challenging outdated policies and pushing for equity in the structures that shape our lives. It's about advocating for maternity leave, pay equity, inclusive education, and safe work environments. It's about making sure that future generations don't just have opportunities. They have fair, accessible, and supportive environments in which to succeed. These changes may not always be visible, but they are foundational. At the heart of this all is love. Love for community, love for justice, love for the future. Women who create space are driven by the belief that their fight, their sacrifices, and their victories mean more when they pave the way for others. They are building a legacy not of personal greatness, but of collective empowerment. Every classroom taught by an encouraging teacher, every office led by a supportive manager, every family raised with dignity and care. These are spaces being created. These are the quiet revolutions shaping tomorrow. The next generation is watching, learning, and preparing. And because of the women who have chosen to make space, they will walk in with more courage, more confidence, and a deeper belief that they belong. The greatest gift we can give the future is not a perfect world, but a better path. And women across the world are clearing that path. One act of generosity, one act of leadership, and one outstretched hand at a time. So when we say the future is female, we are not excluding anyone. We are declaring a future where equality is expected, where strength is redefined, and where opportunity is shared. This is not just a celebration, it's a movement. It's a challenge to break every barrier that holds anyone back from their full potential. And it's a reminder that a future shaped by fearless, passionate, visionary women is not only coming, it's already here. Let us stand with them, learn from them, and become part of the story that proves the future is not just bright, the future is female. God bless you.